I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I did it again. I did it again. Golly. Oh, well, that's good. That's good. That's good. My bad. I did it again. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like Live. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Welcome again back to Black Power Media. Oh, man. Sorry about that. Anyway, I was just saying, welcome. Thanks to everybody who joined me earlier this morning, joined us earlier this morning. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, at least a little bit, with Dr. Piers Robinson. And please do check out his work. We didn't really do him or his work, or let me say, I didn't do him or his work justice. But having gotten to work with him and a few others in the Organization for Propaganda Studies a little bit, it's been very informative. I've even been introduced to a research project. Yeah. And the reality is I would really be perfectly suited to do this, and will and have slowly started to take it up. But anyway, it's a little bit sometimes, well, for me, it's a little bit sometimes hard to do the work you see happening, like, for instance, with Dr. CBS on The Last Dope Intellectual, or that we heard a little bit about with my man, Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows, who's going to be a guest on The Last Dope Intellectual next week. That's going to be hot. But in other words, really sitting down to focus, to do some research and writing is, for me, at least right now, not likely in that way. But I am starting on something. But anyway, but the point is that Piers Robinson, his work and that work, all linked in the description of the last conversation, is well worth some time and attention. And again, folks, this isn't about social or political preference as much as information. All right, so I'll just leave it there for now. Anyway, at 1:00 Eastern, so please do stick around. We're going to be joined for a discussion of Poisoning Tallevast with Professor James Manigault-Bryant. Some fascinating and just spooky and infuriating stuff, as is unfortunately often the case when we're dealing with African people, wherever we may find ourselves. Welcome everybody. Sugar Booger, Leah, again, thank you very much. Bukiki, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, thumbs up to you as well. Welcome. Raz Elbow, thank you very much. Welcome. Del El Sendero, welcome. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. Please do check out that interview, and and definitely hit the like button. Yeah, no doubt. Sounds of Saint Elsewhere, what's up? Right, exactly. Better to catch it early, right? And going, what's up? Welcome. Yeah, I did it again. Definitely, it's a tradition. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad at this point. I think at this point it's becoming an issue. But yeah, anyway, yeah, definitely check out that Piers Robinson interview, and please do stick around for the one at 1 o'clock with Professor Manigault-Bryant. But in the interim, there are a couple of things that I did want to go over, and of course, please be on hand tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for the Remix Morning Show. Definitely don't want to miss that. And shout out to the Morgan State University Help Desk. Just want to shout you out. Appreciate you. James Thompson, what's happening? Appreciate you all coming through. Tahir, Sam Jones, appreciate you. Okay, just a couple of things here. Let me start with the serious, and then I'll get to something a little more humorous and petty. But I want to I just want to big up for right now, and more information to come, but I want to big up Dr. Iyeli Ichile for and we'll have more information. She's updating something now for her work with Mad Money for Mamas. I'm late to this and missed the initial drop of it. But and there will be more information coming here and elsewhere, but the purpose for it is just to raise money for sisters who are suffering abuse and violence, largely at the hands of their Black male partners. Including within this struggle specifically. So this isn't just some, it's not to suggest that this is, of course, the point, that those within the struggle are no different or separate in reality from anyone else in the community. But this is we got to figure this one out. We have to work this one out. There are all kinds of contradictions, obviously, not just in terms of what we claim to profess politically, but largely how a lot of us, we as men in particular, behave. And we certainly, we don't want, whether we're talking about, for instance, the horrors of the state, as Tierney Cherie put it when she was here with us, talking about her new book. Specifically to foster care, we get, but we get done, but just the broader horrors of the state as it engages Black people in particular. No one wants to advocate that. Obviously, no one wants to advocate engagement with the police, or that men incur charges in some other form of response to this. But we have to figure this out. I'm not here, and I don't have an answer. I don't have like a well thought out commentary here. But I just wanted to say that more is to come on this with this project, and we need to figure something out. When anyway, because when you hear the stories that no one wants to share, or no one is comfortable sharing, or no one has been given permission to share, and when let me do it. When I hear the stories that I haven't been given permission to share, that I don't want to share, that I don't want to hear, and that certainly I am not wanting these women, obviously worse, to be suffering. I don't know exactly what to do. I know what I would like to do. I know what I would like to see happen. I don't always acknowledge that I don't always think that those are always maybe the best responses or thoughts, but something has to be worked out, because this problem is getting worse. And there are too many people, women in particular, Black women specifically, that are not. And when I was trying to do some research quickly before even today and wasn't finding anything I was comfortable enough sharing publicly because I wasn't clear on the data or the sourcing or the anyway. But so I have to get caught up on it. And please send me any, but the not only the rates, but that apparently Black women suffer violence even more than Latinas seems crazy. And the amount of involvement of Black men as partners, so-called, or spouses, so-called, got to find another way to deal with it. And I get it. I mean, the older I've gotten, the more I come to understand all the range of emotions and the nuances in relationships. I think I've seen or have heard a lot, if not all. But anyway, we have to figure another way. And I will, this is years ago, many relationships ago, but the only time for me, and I was actually impressed on another level because the sister was driving on I-95 and was angry. And I'm not, I don't want to profess some sort of level of innocence, but I also don't want people's imagination to go running wild either. I had not done anything. There was nothing. But although I have come to understand and learn, and I'm still trying to grapple with recognizing the levels of verbal violence. And in this argument, I engaged in some for sure. But while she's driving on 95 with the left hand, does a kind of half smack mush of my head and face into the passenger window. And I don't think she even swerved. I mean, on some level, it was impressive because it was, I mean, I felt it. I mean, oh man. And I get it. All the initial reactions of absolutely not and whatever. But all I will say, all I said was I just demanded that she stop the car, and I got out on the highway and walked. But anyway, so I'm so I know it gets way worse and things don't, but that's my only, my point is we got to figure this out. So I'll be looking to get involved with some more conversations about this, and certainly to support Dr. Ichile in this Mad Money for Mamas. And we should definitely raise some money, because the point is these sisters need places to stay. They need to be able to, they need help, if they're trying to extricate themselves from a relationship or a space. And sometimes they need to go great distances. So we need to, anyway. I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, we gotta, yeah. yeah. What's up with the likes? What's up? And the mad disliker hasn't showed up though. I don't know what happened there either, but anyway, do hit the like button, the subscribe button. Appreciate the new members we got. Shouted you out this morning, and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm saying it was impressive. I mean, it was impressive. I'm telling you, there was. I don't recall there was no like. She was just like, I wouldn't say I deserved that, but she certainly didn't deserve what honestly was the initial, like that visceral reaction of a response to getting hit in the face was war. So she wouldn't have deserved that. And I wouldn't have been justified in saying, oh, well, she hit me first, but there wouldn't have been any, certainly not. So we oh, wow. What's up, man? Hey, well, thank you, brother Salifu. What did Dr. CBS say? Yeah, formerly known as FKA Mac. Appreciate you signing on up, definitely, and shout out to all the great work at Hood Communist, Free Hood Communist. If that's still, honestly, I haven't even. Has anything ever happened with Twitter with Hood Communist? Anyway, whatever. Should be paying less attention to social media anyway, but. Became a member again. Yeah. Get that green symbol back. Anyway, so that was one thing I wanted to bring up today. Admittedly, very troublesome for me to even, and I struggle to even talk about that stuff. And honestly, I'll say this too. I will say this much. I also feel somewhat, hypocrite's probably too strong a word, but I feel like in some contradiction in the ways that I have or have not intervened when these issues have been brought to my attention, just privately. I don't like what my response has been or been asked to be or been reduced to, and through no fault of anyone. I'm not trying to blame anyone. I'm just saying the way things work out. And I'm not saying that were things, again, I don't think it definitely should not be left up to me. That's not good. That's not good for anybody. So it's good to work collectively and in community, because I'm not suggesting that my initial reaction or my desires are the best. I'm just saying that I don't like that they're not met. I will say that. Yeah. Okay. I did want to say a few things about I just wanted to say again, and I know I'm getting all this hate. It's almost more than anything, any political position I've taken. My expressed love for the game of what is in this country called soccer, and elsewhere in the world, everywhere else in the world known as football, has gotten me so many jokes and ridicule. It's borderline abusive. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Violence. No, I'm just playing. But I have gotten a lot of jokes for it. But I wanted to just say that what happened over this past weekend, I think, was again pretty deep. And I don't know if anybody was paying attention to this, but the first of all, there was the the performative social media boycott by the European Football Association and major sports media and the franchises and the players over the hostility that many Black players have gotten with racial abuse online and social media. One, I just wanted to point out that, again, I think this demonstrates what has historically been a problem and what continues to be a problem with advocacy around so-called boycotts, especially if you give a set term limit and no set demand. I'm not entirely sure what it's meant to do. But then on Sunday, yesterday, there was some fans at a protest outside of Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, valued at about $3 billion. They sort of burst into the stadium, took to the field, walked all over the stadium, threw a tripod here or there. Apparently something was thrown and somebody was hurt at some point. But got loose in the stadium, and it caused them to cancel or postpone the game. That was supposed to be this huge match between Manchester United and Liverpool. So And their argument is that the American ownership, or the North American white Glazier family ownership, is hurting the team. And one of the things that I think is very interesting about this is that, again, that I was trying to point out the other day, is that this is the Glazier family themselves worth $4.5 billion according to Forbes here. They also own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a bunch of other stuff, real estate money, formerly among the American richest families, located in Palm Beach, Florida, owners of the Buccaneers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what again, what I think is very interesting about this is that this is a story, again, about not only international capital and the backing of JP Morgan, but about a desire for the Glaziers and others to be able to create a situation where, like here in the United States, where everybody seems to love this sports situation so much better, you monopolize, you cut off the global market and make it you reduce revenue for players, you guarantee revenue for owners and the elite. That's really the more important part. They want to guarantee their own money for the elite by cutting off competition and cutting off the ability, as is the case in world football, to be relegated to lower divisions and lose access to all that ad revenue if you suck. They don't want that. They want to create what the elite always want to create. They want to internationalize their capital and at the same time monopolize to the point where there is no risk. In fact, it's fun, the old quote from Rockefeller where he said competition is a sin. Capitalists don't really want to compete with one another. They want to create a situation where they don't have to compete. That's the whole point of monopoly. That's why the NFL is the monopoly, and baseball, Major League Baseball, is largely a monopoly. Certainly the NHL. I mean, and in that situation, you can guarantee anyway. All right, that was it. That was all I really wanted to say about that. We don't have to prolong all of that. They want to create an arbitrage against the popularity of the game. Well, there's also this long time argument, by the way, that one of the reasons why the global game was not allowed to get on TV here in the United States for a long time was because of the ad revenue. Advertisers wanted them to break it up into quarters. They wanted to have, all these stoppages for what was it that somebody broke it down, that if you take out all the commercials and the stoppages and only count the time that an NFL football, is like when you're actually in a play, not in between plays, certainly not in between it's something like 7 or 8 minutes of actual gameplay. But you get 4 hours or 3.5 hours of ads, and that's what they wanted. And with the nonstop nature of a soccer game, they didn't want that. So, all right. So all right. Okay. So again, before we get to more serious business at 1 o'clock with the discussion of more environmental, colonial, it's really genocide. I do want to have a little bit of fun here because we don't really do much with it, or I haven't done much with it, but for a long time I've had this deep appreciation for battle rap. it's contradictions galore. I acknowledge that from jump, but Dr. Haight hit me the other day with a link to this presentation of his battles by Math Hoffa, who, if you all don't know, it has a sort of a legendary history in battle rap where that includes multiple fisticuffs. One reason I always thought I could never, because I was never good at the dozens. I don't have the temperament for it. I don't have the patience for it. I would have never been able to do battle rap, even if I could talent wise do battle rap. I would have never been good for this because this is too much verbal abuse and too many. I just couldn't. I don't see how people stand there and take this. But one thing that I won't be showing you. There's one point. Just one part I want to show you in this. But one thing that I think Dr. Haight's saying, because he said I'm the academic Math Hoffa, and not because I fight, but because Math has this sort of hands-off relationship to the to the leagues. He's not, always really welcomed, but he can't be totally avoided, and he challenges people, and whenever people call him out, he responds. I think that's more along the lines, but there's also another thing that that Math Hoffa said that I vibe with as well. And apparently he's trying to go vegan according to the way he was eating in this thing, which is, but actually, I think I just lost what the other thing was. Anyway, I'm gonna come back to that. But there's one thing that actually he came to in this discussion, and I don't want to get in. I don't want this to be I'll just show it to you, and then Math Hoffa is terrible. I don't agree with that, but there is something he does say here, and I don't want to be confused here with the conspiracy side, but check this part out. Oh, hold on a second. Is that not going through the He's not horrible though. That's factually incorrect. All right, let's try that again.
I want to have this conversation with y'all in the future about a conversation I had with a rapper who's been living in hiding because he's in fear.
You still don't hear that?
His death means more.
Hold on. Why is that not working then? Huh. Let me try that again. Sorry about that. I'm sharing the sound. Share this Math Hoffa, share audio. Yeah, that's not working, is it?
Conspiracy type shit.
Anyway, I don't know what's going on there. I have to look into that. Oh, it was working. All right, hold on. My bad. Hold on. Let's try that again then. Yeah, because I don't know why they share the audio. Got that. All right, here we go.
And when I got off the phone, I was like, yo, this nigga's crazy. Well, I started like talking to certain artists, like artists who religiously stay independent. One of them told me, well, the reason I haven't signed a deal is because I don't want nobody playing with my life. I was like, that's that shit that other nigga was saying. And like I said, this artist was on some, yo, I don't want to come out there. I don't want people to start paying attention to me again because that would be a fucking moment. And I was like, it just kept coming back to my mind. Like, our ex was kind of, I'm not saying, we just gotta have that conversation one day, man. We gotta have that conversation one day.
All right, so that was, and then it reminded me of this from a couple years ago. And it's something that comes up in I guess, the study of the music business kind of regularly. But check this out.
I mean, how did you feel when you heard that Sony, I think it was back in the UK, had jacked the prices up of Whitney's album?
It reminds me
within an hour or so of her dying.
Yeah, that reminds me of the time I had a manager once who said to me, you know, you're worth more money dead than alive. Okay, so I am just, by the grace of God, stand by here, because I could have easily, because of a lot of pressure from the label I was with at the time. I went through a really, really rough time. But I didn't want to go outside, didn't want to be seen, didn't want to be around. I really didn't.
All right, yeah, that was it. But just this notion that artists are worth more dead than alive, and it happens all the time. Where it was just anyway, it was just something that occurred to me. It happens all the time, where they've talked about this with Anita Baker. That's right, has said the same thing or something similar. Certainly, if you just look at the music set, I mean, Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, they're making more money now for the labels than they ever were while they were alive, and they're not around to, cause any problems for certainly saying anything, never mind doing anything politically or whatever. And it was just another reminder of the nature of the industry, and the nature of politics, or the political nature of celebrity. So, and I just thought it was interesting to see that come up in a battle rap circle conversation, with Math Hoffa. All right, Mac, easy. I see you easy with you screaming at me with the all caps. Anyway, yeah, so I just thought that was pretty interesting to see that come up with him in a discussion of his bars. Jimi Hendrix for sure. And I just had a very interesting conversation with a researcher who hopefully his work is going to come out. And he was looking for some help in facilitating some interviews to talk about what happened with Jimi Hendrix. But I have read the work of Alex Constantine and John Potash on that issue. Very, very interesting. And Ricky, if you're asking me, absolutely. And in fact, if you all watch, in fact, I need to watch it again. It's I think a fantastic documentary called "Soaked in Bleach," and it actually features. It actually features an interview with this guy, oddly enough. And I just happen to have his book here. Norm Stamper, who used to head the police in Seattle. And long story short, one of the conclusions that could be reached, and they raise this in the documentary, is that Kurt Cobain, even more so dead, was worth. I think it's well over $1 billion, and all of which would go to Courtney Love, who comes off, I'll just say she comes off looking really bad in this documentary. And it's a very convincing documentary. In fact, Norm Stamper said that were he still in charge, he would reopen the case. There's so much wrong with not only what the reporting, and at the time I didn't really, I mean, I only knew of Nirvana, you know, I didn't really follow them like that, so I didn't pay attention. But if you go back and certainly the way this documentary presents it, you know, the way the media covered it, the stories, the lack of investigation, was just a mess. And I mean, soaked in bleach. Just check out that documentary, and it's first of all, it's a great watch. So it's not. I mean, you'll be entertained. That's one thing. But yeah, he was definitely worth more dead than alive, and particularly given where he was going with his marital preferences. He was certainly worth more to Courtney dead than alive, because she was on her way to being a divorcee and not getting any of that money. Sorry about that, Ella. Sorry. But anyway, that joint is deep, man. That joint is deep. Anyway, and but the Hendrix stuff about his agent being well, an agent really for his manager actually being an agent of MI6, the way his death occurred, his movement heading towards Panthers and that kind of politic, you know. But yeah, well, and Ricky, just as far as I'm aware, the way they left it with not the dad jokes, not the dad jokes. we Pan-African, but not pan-generational, huh? All right, I hear you. But according to that documentary, she was in line to get the money. I mean, he died of an overdose suicide. And when they get into the math of how could you have that much heroin and still somehow turn a shotgun to shoot yourself, seemed kind of difficult to me. Oh man. Okay, but but all right, so check this out. Speaking of independent artists who I'm gonna admit this right here. This is me descending into this isn't even about, I wouldn't even say this is about self-promotion. This is more like this is just probably more about, I don't know, fan is too much, like deep respect, profound respect. Like I grew up literally with this guy in a parallel universe with this guy, and have respected his not only his art but his political stances and from my interpretation, frankly, his aggressiveness, his militancy. I wouldn't say we're always on the same page politically or whatever, but in terms of overall skill on the mic and what is done politically, just the vibe. Again, we don't have to be in exact same page. The vibe, that's what I want. That's the energy that I want. So when I saw this, and I gotta shout him, I gotta shout out Kalanji, because until he tagged me, I had not seen this. But when I saw this yesterday, that Wise Intelligent was sitting down with I don't know if it's good. I don't drink wine, but I don't know if it's good. It looks good in the shot that he was sitting down with my book and a glass of wine, talking about me time. I was like, that made my day. It continues to make into this day my day. And then so I said this right here made my day for real. And I said I don't even know what Wise Intelligent thinks about it. Oh, there's my big brother. Yeah, big brother Jamil. That's my big brother right there. So yeah. What's up? What's up? Good to see that. Cuzzo in the building right there. Yep. My man. Sundia. Oh, what's up? Sundia to charge you. I didn't see he saw that. But then this one showed up. Then he came back with this one right here. And I was like, what? This book should be required reading for anyone attempting to address or simply to understand, if not to solve our collective dilemma. I really appreciate the gift, my brother. My man. So I appreciate the kind words. I definitely appreciate that it was coming from wise, intelligent, absolutely, since PRT days, no question. Poor righteous teachers. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's big. And I have over the years tried to interview him when I was doing my radio show. We never could work it out for whatever reason. Don't care. Don't take it personally. Don't mind. Don't give a damn if you. Don't ever talk to me if he just keeps making this great music and on occasion shouts out the work. I really appreciate it. Because again, I can't help but go here, but there are those who I think should be, who I think for more personal or political reasons should be saying more about the book that haven't. So that this came totally unsolicited from somebody that has no direct, relationship with me on any level is dope, and that he is one of my favorite MCs is just super dope. That I had to hear about it from Kalanji, a little less dope. That I got to give Kalanji credit for pointing me out, a little less dope. But and yeah, he is a scholar, no question. Oh no, Craig. Nothing is bigger than your podcast. No this is not to disrespect you or anybody else. It's just to say. Although we got to talk about your legendary, you got a whole legendary basketball career. That's, I mean, we still have to get to. Anyway, hey, by the way, yeah, Cobain was a heavy heroin user, but he did go to rehab. You got to see this documentary. I'm not trying to make the argument because I certainly don't know, and I'm biased by the documentary, but you got to check out the documentary. Because they address this issue very, very well, and with a lot of detail and with a lot of science. So if it's to be debunked, or if it has been debunked, it would have to have been done so on some good research and science, I would think. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, Craig, please do share the podcast. Put the link up there so that folks can check it out if you would. So let me do this since we have a few minutes before. The title of the documentary is "Soaked in Bleach," and I am absolutely going to watch it again, probably today. Yeah, Soaked in Bleach. And it's a very well done documentary. You will enjoy it. And I think is, I think it could be used for a lot of different things if you don't, for some reason, care about the specifics of Nirvana and Cobain and all of that. It could be used as a media literacy piece. It could be used as a policing piece. as a pop culture celebrity critique. It could be used, just to how to make a good documentary. It's free with ads now on Amazon. I mean, hey, might be worth it. That joint, I mean, oh man. Anyway, since we have a few minutes before my guest gets here, I thought what I would do is maybe save some time with him by bringing up, at least with you all, something that, well, it'll probably have to come up with him anyway. But well, at least let me say this. First of all, please do try to incorporate the Remix Morning Show into your media diet. If you can't, for some reason, do it live in the morning, which is, understandable, please do try to catch it later or invite others to check it out, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Already this week, I'm just seeing the lineup get filled out, and it's all over the world. We're already doing things that, I mean, really, it's just no one else is doing, or I'm not aware of it being done in this way. There is also a lot of great programming coming with more from the Black Myths podcast. And we are going to, in coming weeks, months, whatever, collaborate on extending a look at the myth of Black Wall Street, given that this is the 100th anniversary. And it is a myth that deserves some myth busting, I think, for sure. We'll see what they conclude, and then we'll see what we all conclude. And Sundiata Chajiwa, Real Talk with Dr. Sundiata Chajiwa, has not only added a great interview with Brother Nnamdi Lumumba the other day, but has more great stuff coming in weeks, days, whenever, and actually planned out into the summer, from what I heard. And on Friday, I'll be back. I don't know, morning, afternoon. We're going to be talking about Rochelle McGee. Brother Kaba is going to come through, talk about some African-centered worldview. And then, of course, you'll have your whole Dope Fridays. So, so I don't know. We need something for Mondays, because I think I'm going to be coming on Mondays. We need, like a motherfucking Mondays or something. I don't know, something. There is this other thing I will take up a moment or two, forgive me, that I didn't really finish addressing earlier, that keeps coming up, that actually came up in the interim since I left and came back. It came up again. First of all, I don't know the specifics other than the blanket, which I'm not here to argue that all white folks are just racist, just period. But specifically, I don't know what Jimmy Dore is supposed to have done that makes him unworthy of watching as a source of just daily news. So yeah, I do laugh. I do find some of his stuff funny. I do love the hate he has for the mainstream and the so-called left and the Democratic Party. And I do enjoy getting that news that way. And I do see all the pockets. Look, but again, but I'm not looking at him for ideology, analysis, friendship. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want to watch MSNBC anymore. I don't want to watch CNN anymore. And I don't know of, and someone got at me on YouTube or in the chat, in the comments somewhere, but of course they're anonymous, their name, they don't, so I don't know. But they were saying there are Black people who do what he does. And I was saying, who? And what I'm talking about is, sort of a daily look at the mainstream news of the day from the perspective of left of the Democratic Party. I'm not aware. And when I asked for this person to send me links, what I thought was funny was that all of the examples of people that they said do that were people who had shows on the Black Power Media channel. But even then I was saying, but we don't do that. But none of us do what Jimmy Dore does. I'm not saying that we should. I'm not saying that he could. That's not my point. My point is there is a difference. So when anyway, so that was same thing with Aaron Mate, who I really think his work on Russiagate, the OPCW stuff in Syria, probably some other things, is really good. I'm not looking for him to give an analysis that's going to help any analysis. I just want the information. And you're not going to get any of that on MSNBC or CNN. So that's why I was saying, I don't know, yeah, Eugene is the best. But even what they do isn't that. But did you see the interview though? Critical Thought Critique. Put a ring on it. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. But did you see the interview with the Boogaloo Boys? I don't want to be put in a position to sound like I'm defending them. What I'm saying is this guy was not he was not presenting as the stereotypical Boogaloo boy, and that was Jimmy's point. And the guy's critique and what he said the Boogaloo Boys are and what they are not is not what was presented in the mainstream media, and that was Jimmy's point. He wasn't there to promote racism and anti this, anti that. That was his point, that this guy wasn't that. And I think that guy was himself gay, if I'm not mistaken, and that was part of the point, or in some sort of gender or sexually fluid position. So that was part of the point. So I'm not, but again, put a ring on it. That was funny. That's funny. So yeah, I'm okay. All right. I get that, but the point was, in the context of that discussion, he was not offering a right-wing critique. He wasn't hiding his right-wingness in his homosexuality or whatever. That was an add-on to the point he was making about what the Boogaloo Boys are not, which he was saying that he was not anti gay, anti-black, anti-woman, anti-whatever. He was very pro-redistribution, pro-working people, all this different stuff. Anyway, my point was, whatever he was or is not for real, or whatever the Boogaloo Boys are not for real, Jimmy's point was that wasn't that that his point was something else. That's all I'm saying. Oh man, y'all funny, man. Eugene Puryear, absolutely. Tell me, but again, and correct me if I'm missing something, even their daily production is often about issues we should be covering or looking at that are not covered in the mainstream. It's not a left or progressive critique of mainstream news. So I hope you see that distinction that I'm trying to draw. So the Punch Out and Breakthrough are part of my media diet as well, but I don't see them doing the same thing either. I see them doing a very important something else, which is covering other stories in other parts of the world in different ways. But in any event, even still, there is, I mean, there's only like, what is it, like an hour or 30 minutes a day, most of Dora's content. So, I mean, I still, there's more to consume. So, I mean, it's not just, I'm just sitting there watching Jimmy Dora's channel, even though I'm saying, somebody said, I got 235 and said, I need to put a ring on it. That is funny. I'm gonna laugh at that all day. No, but what I'm just simply saying that is what I watch his show for. Just an additional, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm not saying, this is not me saying Dora and not them. I'm saying, and yeah, I know they're a gay fascist, but that wasn't his point. His point was, anyway, look, I'm not trying to defend any of them really. I'm just trying to say why, but in the same way, like, seriously, do any of you not at all, what, let me ask you that. We got 3 minutes before my guest gets here, at least. I mean, I'd be happy to hear more about what your media diet is, but I'm talking about, I literally do not watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox or any of those channels ever. So I don't even watch Democracy Now! Anymore. I don't watch The Real News anymore. In fact, I haven't clicked on The Real News since I walked out of there in, 2016? So I missed, the Luke Mons being, although I think they did interview me on their show when they were there for their show there. I can't remember for sure, but I've never seen their work there. No disrespect. I've never seen, when she was there, Kim Brown's work there. I've never seen any of that stuff because I have my own personal boycott against that very whack, fake, white, male dominated. I mean, that joint, that place is so, that, oh my goodness. So, but anyway, but my point is, I don't watch any of that. So I just watch, I've been trying to find all these other alternatives. And the black outlets, like, unfortunately, like so far what I've seen of Mark Lamont Hill on his Al Jazeera show and on this Black News Channel show, and on, and certainly stuff like Roland Martin, and a lot of other, even the podcasts that I like, they're not doing sort of the daily, okay, this is what the Washington Post and the New York Times said, which I also don't read, at least not often. But I read, for instance, fair.org, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. So I see all the things that the Washington Post and the New York Times get wrong. But when it comes to hearing what they have said that day, or if I am curious to hear what Biden has said or Pelosi may have said or whatever, but I don't want to hear it from them, and I don't want to hear it from these other outlets if I can avoid it. So Dore is one of the sources that and the Gray Zone, they're running shows. I watch all of their stuff, which is why I know that they don't talk about political prisoners, which is so disappointing. That's whack as hell. But again, I'm not looking for them to be. Is this honestly, I have my own, is this daily, Ricky, though? Honestly, that may be just one of the examples that I'll just have to just, because Barr, African Esquire, definitely. But again, African Esquire, I watch her stuff all the time, but she's talking about the African continent, first of all. So nobody does that. That's what I'm saying. But Jimmy Dore and them don't do that any more than MSNBC or CNN do that. So that's why I'm saying, like, I wouldn't be okay. But anyway. All right, but listen, everybody, my guest is here. So I will happily come back to this at another time. I don't want to waste too much more time here with some of this here silliness. So I'm very interested to talk with our next guest, and I hope for the first of what will be many visits to the program. Because again, as I'm always behind and trying to catch up on all this great work I'm missing, this brother right here is another one whose work I have to continue to catch up to. And I'm talking about Professor James Manigault-Bryant, who, among many other things, is a professor of Africana Studies at Williams College, and is going to join us for a discussion of a piece he co-wrote titled "Poisoning Tallevast." So I want to welcome Professor Manigault-Bryant to the show. Good afternoon, sir. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Welcome.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. How are you?
I'm as good as could be expected. And I do want to say, by the way, I do want to shout you out because you were introduced to me by and referred to me by the incredible Dr. Joy James. So congratulations for being somebody that her greatness would be willing to introduce. You know what I mean? That's a high honor. I congratulations on that.
Yeah, I really appreciate your starting right there. That's exactly where it should start. I'm honored to be a colleague of Dr. James Joy. We work at both teach at Williams College, and she is an amazing force and very generous. And I was so honored that after reading the essay in the Boston Review, Poisoning Tallevast, as you mentioned, that I co-wrote with my colleague, Jose Constantine, who's a geoscientist at Williams, and a very amazing, brilliant second-year student, Ruby Bagwin. And the three of us worked together last year and wrote this essay. And after Dr. James read it, she sent me right to you. And so I'm just very honored to be here with you and to be able to talk about this essay.
Right on. No, I appreciate that. And just one last thing about Dr. James, I want to say publicly, because this is I'm sure you know, is not, unfortunately, it is not often the case that our colleagues are as both able to help and willing to be helpful to others. And she is
That's
both,
right.
and that's pretty remarkable. So I just want to shout her out a little bit more on that too. Yeah.
Yes. No. Please. Thank you. I absolutely. She is fantastic.
So yeah. So I, so we can sit here all day and talk about the great Dr. James and we all, by the way, we are working on a few things that will be brought to this platform hopefully sooner than later and within probably another month or so. So please, everybody, stick around, stay tuned. But if we could, I wanted to start with you. We're almost with where you start with this piece. And if I could just quote from where you have here at the beginning, to welcome everybody to this this nightmare. You say the plot will sound familiar. A polluting industry, privately owned but authorized by the state, is placed near Black homes, fouls the natural resources, and causes irreversible harm to the community's health. Environmental racism is global, but it is particularly common to Black communities in the U.S. South, where state authorities tend to allow more latitude to industrial polluters. Consider Warren County, North Carolina, where a dump for the neurotoxin PCB was sited adjacent to the homes of poor Blacks, or Louisiana's Cancer Alley, where petrochemical production has devastated dozens of Black communities along the banks of the Mississippi. Such occurrences extend the time frame of plantation-like mechanisms of control and dispossession. Of course, it is not only in the South. Change a couple of key details, and you have Flint, Michigan, or Secunda, South Africa. End quote. So, I mean, it's a great and well-written paragraph. It's devastating. It is unfortunately Pan-African in its scope. But please tell us a little bit more about what we read when we continue on.
Sure. Yes. That paragraph was very much influenced by the scholarship that has evolved over the last 20 or 30 years by Robert Bullard and Beverly Wright, scholars who are based in Texas and New Orleans, respectively, who have been working with communities throughout the world, but particularly in the South, Black communities in the South, on issues of environmental justice for many, many years. And so we thought it was important in preparing this piece to honor and to recognize that work that has been going on. And Tallevast, as we mentioned in the piece, is one of many cases that what we've seen in the South, particularly in the American South, over the last for decades, but that has emerged in the scholarship more recently, is the onslaught of industries that have been established on land, that have been founded on lands in the Southeast, under the guise of presenting jobs, which they did. They presented work opportunities for Black people, but at the same time, the emissions and the waste that results from that production poisons communities. And Tallevast is one of many of those cases. And what we outline, or what we chronicle in our essay, is how it happened in a particular way in Tallevast, Florida. Tallevast is a community that is between Sarasota and Bradenton, Sarasota County and Manatee County. The city of Bradenton sits right to the north of Tallevast. And during the 60s, during the early 60s, in 1961 to be exact, a chemical plant that machines beryllium, which is a metal that is used for a number of different things. It's been used for the space shuttle, for the NASA program, but most of the production of beryllium in Tallevast went to the defense industry, and so it's used for creating missiles, used for surveillance equipment. It's a very thin metal that has a lot of it has properties that are conducive to transmitting forms of energy. And the mining of beryllium is actually pretty rare. That there aren't a lot of mining sources, but most of them are in the U.S. A number of them are in Utah. So it's this special metal that is not well known. It's not a popular metal that gets a lot of attention in the public because of its value, the source of its value, and the very particular ways in which it's used for the defense industry.
But I'm sorry to forgive the interruption, because you mentioned that it's found in Utah, but I don't recall reading about Utah in this piece. So I know you start off, you mentioned that there's something particular that happens to Black folks, but first of all, I'm not aware that Utah has the biggest Black population, but it does have this beryllium.
Right.
I'm just grabbing disparate bits of information here, or anecdotal bits of whatever. But I didn't see Utah being described in your piece, in the ravages of beryllium on the charcoal dust that you describe raining down on Black populations in Utah. So what's up?
Sure. I appreciate you reining me in. I'll move things along.
No. I'm not trying to rein you in.
Okay.
That was not me trying to rein you in. It was me literally.
Okay.
It was me honestly saying, you mentioned Utah, and I didn't, and I even just did a quick word search to see if I missed something. You didn't talk about Utah. So I'm wondering how did the good folks of Utah, or did they escape? What happened?
No, that's actually a fantastic point. My point is that the beryllium is mined in Utah, but then it is taken to different places. In Tallevast's case, beryllium was then shipped to Tallevast to where it was machined. It was prepared for the defense industry, and so it's actually a perfect point to make that it's mined in one place where there aren't a lot of Black people, but then it gets shipped to places and manufacture. They sort of alter its form so that it can be used for defense industry materials. So in between the mining and the actual use of it, there's this middle stage, and Tallevast represented that middle stage. And during that middle stage, it runs the risk of contaminating, of polluting environments. And so that's precisely where Tallevast comes in. It is that middle point where the beryllium was treated. It was treated between 1961 and 1996 when the plant closed down. And in those 35 or so years, it's contaminated the environment. And so it wasn't the beryllium itself, it was the solvents that were used in making the beryllium available for the defense industry materials. And so what we chronicle in the piece is the machining process and the cleaning of the materials that were used for beryllium production, how that process led to the contamination of the groundwater in Tallevast. And
so the good people of Utah are safe. So they're at least relatively.
As far as I know.
Okay, well that's very important. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, if anything, I was just trying to illustrate the sort of the beginning of the process to the end of the process, and to note the rareness of beryllium. It's not just found anywhere. Is my point. It's actually found in more mountainous areas. But again, that speaks to how rare it is, how valuable it is, and also how expensive it is. And so it actually requires specialists who are trained in dealing with this very sensitive material. And so in addition to these machining specialists, there were also mid-level and custodial staff who had to care for the cleanup around the production of beryllium at the former plant. It was called the American Beryllium Company, ABC.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if you wanted to.
No, I mean, well, there's a lot. I didn't. So, for instance, well, go ahead and finish. Did you want to make another point about ABC or to finish?
I was,
go ahead.
I was. It was sort of a natural pause if you wanted to jump in, but what happens is that at ABC, again, from 1961 until 1996, they oversaw the machining of beryllium. It ends up contaminating the groundwater in Tallevast. But what we focus on in the essay is how how state Florida agencies, particularly the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, how they did not respond to the contamination in a manner that gave any concern for the potential effects on the Black community in Tallevast.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I definitely wanted to ask about. That sort of stood out to me is that, and admittedly for other areas I'm more focused on that where this argument between business or entrepreneurial pathways to collective advance versus public policy. I keep wanting to point out that public policy is what we need to be focused on, at least in one area, anyway, on one level. And so I did want to ask, because it seems like public policy plays a lot in your piece here. That it's anyway. So I wanted to just ask if you could just maybe talk about that. What role is the state or is public policy playing in all of this? And then what ends up happening to the people? And then obviously where are we today?
Sure. So on the public policy side, there were actually no policies, no laws that required the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to inform Tallevast residents that their groundwater was contaminated, that there was a huge plume that was and continues to encircle the community. So there was no policy in place that require the agency to actually tell residents.
I'm sorry, say the name of the agency one more time.
The Florida Department of Environmental Protection
has needed a mandate to tell people in Florida that their water was being polluted. Like their already established mandate wouldn't have already included that. I'm saying, damn, man.
At the time that this happened, there was no policy. Since then, there has been a bill passed that is called the Tallevast bill. So Tallevast becomes the occasion for a local. At that time, he was a state house representative, Bill Galvano. He wrote and led to the passing of a bill called the Tallevast. Well, it's not, the formal title isn't Tallevast bill, but it is known as the Tallevast bill because Tallevast was the reason why Representative Galvano saw to the writing and then the passage of the bill. But that didn't do anything for Tallevast, unfortunately, because it had already been, the damage had already been done. So the bill passed, it says in the article, I'm not very good with dates, I believe it was 2007.
Yeah, that sounds right. But anyway, but what had happened to the people as a result of the polluting? And where are things now?
Well, that's as we mentioned in the article, there's a cancer cluster that wasn't or hasn't been addressed by the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Environmental Health, or even the local health agencies. That there are essentially there were up until 2012 there were we mentioned the number, maybe 4 or 5 health studies, public health studies that were done in Tallevast, and they had competing accounts of whether there was a cancer cluster. But There's a cancer cluster in Tallevast. It has compromised people's health. It has injured and killed people. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And so the state doesn't address the illnesses because no one has worked out the competing accounts by different agencies within Florida. So there's the ATDSR, horrible with acronyms as well as dates, but it's the ATDSR and the Florida Department of Environmental Health both did their studies, and then Tallevast hired its own, or rather the community organization Tallevast Focus hired their own public health expert, public health scholar to gather a team and to conduct a health study, which they did. And their study, which involved a level of investigation that the state studies actually did not undertake. The public health study team by a Dr. Javier Gassana is his name. Dr. Gassana brought a team of between seven and 10 scholars, and they actually spoke with members with Tallevast residents and got their health histories. The state of Florida studies did not take that kind of care. They sort of took sort of spurious numbers and crunched them, and did the regression analysis and said, hey, there isn't a cluster here, or rather, we don't have enough information to say if there's a cluster.
Yeah, if I can say, I found it's the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry.
Thank you so much for finding that. I appreciate it.
No, I mean, thank you for writing it, and I just had to look for it. But you said here, I mean, to your point, that using data from two databases, the Florida Cancer Data System and the Florida Bureau of Vital Statistics, they concluded that there was a slightly higher number of expected cancers, but that causality cannot be assessed because of the small sample size of residents and the agency's professed inability to verify the addresses of community members. That seems crazy. What are we talking? I mean, because this isn't that long ago. We're talking about, this is the early 2000s, right? Or is it still in the 90s? Even still, I mean, what do you mean we can't verify the addresses? So therefore, so what? That they could say that all of these folks who have cancer, since we can't verify where they live, we can't say it's a cluster because they might be living wherever. All these cancerous folks might be just dispersed throughout. I mean, that's some slick. That's wow.
Isn't it?
Sorry. Man, please continue.
No. You're absolutely no. That's so that's one. That's the primary, most infuriating impact is the ways that it has the contamination has injured Tallevast residents, the ways that it has compromised health, and it's also impacted the land. I mean, it has contaminated the soil, the groundwater. The reason why the contamination directly impacted the health of residents is that many residents were on well water. They were not connected to the county water supply. And so each home in Tallevast, and that's the thing, this is a Black community that owns its property. It owns its property, right? And on their land, they had many had wells. Even as there was a grant from '83, which we mentioned in the essay. There was a grant in 1983 that came from HUD. It came from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The county, Manatee County, received a grant to connect Tallevast residents to the water supply and to put Tallevast homes to install sewer lines. Each home had its own well and its own septic tank. So there was this grant from they got in 1983, $1 million, which was a lot of money at any time. But in '83, it seemed like it would have been enough to actually create that infrastructure that had been missing in Tallevast for decades. But it didn't happen. So the county oversaw this installation process. I'm sure that's probably not the term for actually installing wells and putting homes on the county water supply. But the process did not finish. It actually stopped right at the edge of the ABC plant. And then the rest of the community remained on well water and on sewer, on septic tanks. And in fact, to this day, many of those homes on the eastern side of the ABC plant, many of those homes remain on septic tanks because Manatee County can't seem to find the funds to put homes on septic tanks. But then right on the eastern edge of Tallevast, there are new developments that are coming up that are on sewer lines. They're on septic tanks, they're on sewer lines, they're on county water. And so this cluster of homes right in Tallevast that is that does not have this resource that is common to homes throughout the United States, but more specifically locally in Manatee County. So the contamination has impacted the land. It has devalued the land, and so even for those who may want to move, if they wanted to move, they're not able to move. They can't get the value for their homes. But even if for those who want to stay, it's land that families have held for generations. And so,
but that's now contaminated.
But that's now contaminated, precisely. Right.
So,
and so,
I mean, because
yeah.
as I was reading the piece and listening to you here, I'm thinking again of first of all, I was mad that I knew what TCE was because I had watched the Brockovich movie so many times. So I was already ready for the. But then I'm reading about all these TCE levels in the water in these Black people's community, and I'm thinking. So this is yet another reason why home ownership cannot be again sold to us as another step to take to get out of unequal condition, because it's like here, as you said, these people own their houses, and then the land on which the houses exist just gets polluted by the military-industrial complex in Lockheed Martin, which I want to come to in just a minute here specifically, And as you're saying, then the value of the home goes down. The land on which the homes are built is contaminated. So it's like, dang. I mean, these people, it's like, now what? Anyway,
right? It's a good point. I'm at this point in my life where I'm thinking about land and land ownership in ways that I haven't before, and I mean, land is our most valuable resource, really, right? I mean, it is where we physically locate ourselves and build community. I mean, we don't have to have community on physical land, I suppose. I mean, we're now in this sort of virtual community mode, but still, like, we're physical beings and we need physical space to be. And we as in Black people should be able to claim land and build and stay if we want to without the threat of our resources being contaminated, challenging, and compromising our health and devaluing, our property. We very much have the right to do that, even as well. It may not in the long run be the best financial decision. Well, the reason it's not the best financial decision is because
Lockheed Martin gonna come and pollute your water.
Exactly. I mean, really, I'm not saying we should believe in the American dream of homeownership, but we should think about the American dream. We should think about home ownership as a right and as one of the most, if not the most, significant things that we can do to build community. I mean, yeah, I don't mean, no, that's yeah. So that's essentially what happened in Tallevast. That's what generations of community members believed that they had. They believed that they had a home, and we do still have a home, right? It's still home, but it's home that has been contaminated by a billion-dollar corporation that sells weapons to the federal government. And God knows who else.
Their compatriots, Raytheon and their former executive, who's now the defense secretary, all of them collectively got almost $2.5 billion already this year of what's really our money, so that was another one of the points I wanted to raise, just to sort of bring this point in about Lockheed Martin, who figure prominently in your story. That I always think it's important to remind everybody that they are using federal contracts to earn the money that they are then able to use to do what is done to Tallevast and differently through their other form of their products to people all around the world. I mean, again, the Pan-African or the global view you start off with suffers the other end of this, because again, they're funded through Pentagon contracts, which is using federally raised monies that we all contribute to funnel back to this private corporation who is given carte blanche to make billions of dollars and then bomb people overseas, sicken people here. And at least one of the things that I do want to raise at some point before we wrap up is cover their tracks through funneling a lot of money, or a relatively, well, not to them, but to relatively to others, a lot of money to communities, to universities, including HBCUs and others, to I don't know, project themselves as being good for the community. And then when this stuff happens that you all report it, granted, no disrespect to the Boston Review, and then congratulations, and I know it's good to get stuff published there, but this is not routinely discussed in media or throughout the national or even alternative media structure, or apparatus. So sorry, there's no question there, but or maybe I'll just ask you, could you describe a little bit more in detail what your article says is Lockheed Martin's role in all of this specifically, because again, they factor prominently in this piece.
Yeah, I should be really, I appreciate that point. I should be clear that that so the American Beryllium Company was the organization that owned the beryllium plant in Tallevast, and that was responsible for contaminating the groundwater. Lockheed Martin assumed ownership of ABC when Lockheed Martin purchased the Loral company. So Loral was the corporate owner of ABC, which was a local institution. But then Loral Corporation was sort of an overseer of ABC. Loral Corporation was purchased by Lockheed Martin in 1996, 1997, around the time that the ABC plant closed. So when Lockheed Martin purchased Loral Company, they assumed responsibility for what happened. And so when Lockheed ran an environmental audit of the ABC property, they discovered the contamination. ABC was aware of it. They must have been aware of the contamination for years. There's no way that they didn't know that there were leaks in their storage tanks of the waste that was coming from the machining and cleaning process of beryllium. There's no way that they didn't know that there was a leak. But they didn't report it, and the state of Florida did not. The FDP did not hold them responsible. Was not noting the leakage. It's not clear whether FDP knew that there were leaks, but there's no way that ABC did not know the leaks. Nonetheless, ABC's which was owned by or run by Loral Corporation, then becomes assumed by Lockheed Martin when Lockheed Martin purchased Loral Company. So Lockheed Martin presents it as they're cleaning up, they're doing the remediation. They don't say it's out of the goodness of their heart, but the attitude behind is like, well, we weren't responsible for it. We didn't do it. It wasn't our company at the time. And technically, that's right. But
they were also doing this work for Lockheed Martin to buy, right? I mean, because isn't that part of it? Or did I misread that? Because it's
no. That's absolutely
it's not just
right.
the ownership. I mean, they're
right.
doing this because they're turning the beryllium into something that Lockheed Martin wants and is going to spend a lot of money on. So whether they own the company directly or not is almost immaterial. It's like, we need this done. And if you got to pollute some black people, I don't give a damn, because we're going to just take what we turn this into and drop it on some other black and brown people elsewhere. So who cares? I mean,
that's right.
If we sicken them here and drop it on them there, anyway, sorry about that.
No, please. No, that's it. That's it. You're absolutely right. So, yeah, I appreciated your bringing up the point about Lockheed's responsibility or Lockheed's role in this whole thing. It's a very sort of curious point. But if you actually, I don't recommend this, but if you follow Lockheed, they're responsible for at least 20 other sites that are like Tallevast. Not all of them occupied by black people, but if they have assumed the cleanup of a number of companies that they have purchased. And it's presented as part of their kind of in environmental equity, concern sort of platform. Like we're actually doing this because we care about the environment. Well, no, they're doing it because it was, they made a profit off of purchasing different companies, and they did a cost benefit analysis and decided that it was worth, assuming, the cost of remediating the land in Tallevast, but without, accounting for or addressing the extent of damage and the the impact that it's had on the community. I mean, that's not something you can monetize. And but under a type of cost benefit analysis, or under racial capitalism. I mean, like this is a part of like this is the sacrifice that's made, the sacrifice of Black lives, sacrifice of the Black community, and for the production of goods for defense. I mean, that is what our article essentially points to. The sacrifice that is made, and with there. So there was a financial settlement with the community, but that settlement can't begin and hasn't addressed the damage that's done. And so I appreciate being here with you this afternoon. I appreciate your bringing attention to Poisoning Tallevast, and it's part of an ongoing conversation, an ongoing battle. And when I say conversation, I mean conversation within Tallevast, within the community. The community itself is still figuring out its next step. How is it going to survive as a community, as a family? How is it going to how are they going to take care of themselves, take care of their bodies, take care of their loved ones, take care of their land? I mean, that is that part of the sacrifice just does not get addressed. Like these are real human beings, real lives that are being affected.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up as we wrap here how you all conclude the piece here, because I thought that this was particularly powerful as you talk about one of the elders of the community who has since passed on. You talked about you said here that when she told the story of the old unreliable bread truck that made her and her Tallevast classmates late for school, she would often end on a note of pride about the fact that Tallevast residents were property owners, something few Blacks in the county could say. They would laugh at things about kids from Tallevast, she would divulge with a slight grin, because we were from the country, not knowing that most of the people from Tallevast owned the land they had and could do what they wanted with it. Owning land was meant to lead community members inexorably toward future prosperity. Now, most of that land, poisoned by hostile forces that the founding families could not have imagined a century ago, remains in the hands of their descendants, who must determine what is to come. So sort of a perfect way to wrap up for us as well. But as we do, Professor Manigault-Bryant, is there anything that I didn't invite you to say that needs to get said, or was there a particular point that you needed to make that we didn't make, or any other sort of concluding comments that you have? And again, I appreciate you coming through too and putting this piece together, because I won't say I enjoyed reading this very well-written piece, but it's something that needs to be read, and dealt with.
Yeah, thank you for your kindness and providing this platform to talk about, for us to talk about the essay, to talk about Tallevast. It is a special place, a special community, and this story that we're talking about is something that the community is has been talking about for years, and has been affected for years, and it's worn on the weight of what is to come next is heavy, and I'm so grateful for this platform to tell the story again, a story that the residents of Tallevast know well, and that others are now learning about. And I invite those who to whom the story resonates, because this isn't, I mean, perhaps the particularities of the story, I mean, to go back to where we started about the Pan-African nature of this of what happened to Tallevast, but this the Tallevast story is particular, but it's universal in some ways as well. And so I that this platform is this opportunity to remind remind us of the nature of the phenomenon of environmental racism. Is just I'm very grateful. So I'm so happy that Professor James put us in communication, and that
Absolutely
we could chat for a bit. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you. And again, thanks to Dr. James. And anytime, we're happy to have you back, and really anyone trying to do this kind of work. So definitely appreciate it, and good luck going forward. And I look forward to catching up to more of your work and having you back. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Jared. Thank you, man. All right.
All right. Now take good care. Take it.
Yes, you too.
All right. All right, everybody, if you would, there's one more thing I want to sort of related to this that I wanted to bring up very quickly, because and thanks again to Dr. Manigault-Bryant for that. But before we wrap, just very quickly, let me one thing I wanted to show, because this piece about Lockheed Martin. And let's see, let me share this real quick. So one thing, I was just trying to look up, actually, I couldn't find anything fast enough for this interview, but I was trying to look up very quickly, and I'm happy to, I'll definitely come back to this, and if any of you know or want to point me to something. I was just trying to find quickly how much Lockheed Martin had been giving just generally, but to universities and to HBCUs in particular. And I couldn't find that. But one thing that I found was in looking for that was just this piece here that it just talking about the competition for funding. For years, the defense industry has been under pressure as government budget cuts have focused on reducing the amount spent on the military, which never happens. They keep getting more and more. But I just thought here, both Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin have seen their shares take off as investors bet on the renewed need for a strong U.S. military presence around the world. So I just quickly, before I get to this, what I really wanted to get to, just to show you this, just as a reminder, not that I think any of us need it, but that they are overtly saying that they are betting on the U.S. military presence around the world being needed. And of course, to do that, you want to encourage certain public policy in a certain direction. And of course, there's certain news influence, or what they call message force marketing, and the imposition of military industrial complex folks as pundits in news, to comment on whether or not this country should be going to war, et cetera, and so forth. So that was just one thing. The other thing is that I wanted to bring up again my man's book, Dr. Jelani Favors, whose book, Shelter in a Time of Storm, which is a book about the history of HBCUs, has in it this very important tidbit that I've constantly, since it came out a couple years ago, made reference to, that talks about what I would describe, at least. I'm not going to say that he's saying it this way, but I would suggest, I've read it this way, that what he's showing here is a graph put together by Rhonda V. Sharp, integrated post-secondary educated data system, using the integrated post-secondary educated system to show what has happened with funding of HBCUs since the 1960s. And as he says here, as the Black Power era dawned, HBCUs were increasingly courted by corporations and STEM-related industries with research grants and external funding. In large part, students were lured to these new fields due to the promise of higher salaries. The result was an erosion of the importance of majors such as teaching, social sciences, and the humanities, which had effectively politicized generations of students in the past. So what they show here, what she's showing here, and what Dr. Favors includes in it here, is that STEM goes from which is here in the 1960s all the way up to here by 2014. In terms of the millions or thousands, I guess thousands of millions of dollars spent on HBCUs in funding. And here is education dropping all the way down. The humanities, which was never, let's not get carried away. The humanities was never, exceedingly featured. Wait a minute, which is humanities is here. It sort of peaked in the 1970s. It has never reached, look at that. It peaked right around here, 1970, 71, the year I was born, and has gotten decreasingly funded ever since. It is way down here. The only thing that is above STEM is other. But if you take out education, humanities, social sciences, business management, which as you see here has ever increased and then sort of plateaued and then came back down. Even business management isn't that highly rated or highly funded. Because why? Because what are you going to manage? There are no Black businesses that are big enough to require paid management, and they're not hiring Black people into the elite corporate rungs of white America. So, but the other, so I'm not sure what the other would be. Is that I have to go back and see if that was ever explained. I don't remember if that was ever clarified. But the real point is that STEM has just ever increased with the particular impact of eroding majors that had effectively politicized generations of students in the past. And whether it's Morgan State or many other HBCUs, Lockheed Martin and many other, they highly involve themselves in funding, or it's considered a major source of funding. So and even to this day, humanities are constantly being targeted for reduced support and funding, et cetera, and so forth. So, whoops. Anyway, I didn't mean to click that, but I can source how many HBCU deans still were. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Anyway, listen, everybody, I want to thank, again, Dr. Manigault-Bryant. I want to thank all of you, Dr. Piers Robinson from earlier today. Thank all of you for coming through and spending this time. Shout out again to Wise Intelligent. Appreciate you. And again, a reluctant, resistant acknowledgement and shout out to Kalanji for alerting me to that. How much more am I gonna have to hear about that? And again, thanks everybody for to the best you can supporting the channel. Please, if you can't support by becoming a member of the channel or a Patreon, please at least like, share, retweet, all that kind of stuff. Encourage people to check it out and be here if you can 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for the Remix Morning Show right here on Black Power Media. So again, once again, I'm Jared Ball. This has been another edition of I Mix What I Like Live. Thank you all again very much for checking this out live or after the fact. And if I didn't get to it, I apologize, but I do check out the comments. So if you got something more to say, like my man Pierre at Comedy Hype says,
put it in the comments.
And I'll get to it as best I can, or we will get to it as best we can. Anyway, peace. Like Fred Hampton said, as long as you're willing to fight for it, we'll catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like Live and tomorrow morning on the Remix Morning Show. Peace, everybody. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.